Okay, so knock on wood, this is going to be the first one we've ever shot without any hiccups. Knock on wood.
You just had to say something. You just had to say something.
I knocked on wood. I knocked on wood.
I knock on wood too, but like this is our intro now. I hope you know that, because now if anything goes wrong, we're gonna find out through the editing process. I need this to be put in there for future reference.
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna let it fly. This is all gonna be recorded, so that way when I go to edit it, I'm just like sitting there and I'm like, when did my audio cut out? When did my audio cut out?
Exactly. Hi everybody.
And you just see me just over here
just freaking out.
Yeah. Welcome back to the Whispers from the Shadows podcast. I'm Super Jimmy.
I'm Ms. Pleasure.
So today's topic was actually kind of a brainchild of both myself and Ms. So this was something that we kind of like bumped our brain cells together, our two brain cells together, and we're like,
brain would work with us.
Yeah,
he'll steal it sometimes, come up with an idea, I'll steal it, and I come up with an idea. It works very well.
Yes, because we feed off of each other's energy, number one, and then number two, we both share the same smooth brain, so we end up with like a lot of the same ideas. So we're like, but for today's topic, it sounds simple at first when you think about it, but then it becomes very complicated due to the fact that I made my list very hard and Miz made his list somehow harder.
In some ways. So like we both had a complexity in the thought process here. So it's easier said than done to explain it. But like the best way to describe it is, what's your top 10 horror movies? And it's a very broad statement. I came up with my way, and Jimmy came up with his way, and the way we came about it are two different ways, but they still line up very smoothly. Yes,
because the way I did mine was I can only use the same director, the same writer, or the same author that inspired the movie one time. So if there was a writer and director combo, I can't use them again in anything else. So if I did a James Wan movie like Saw, I then could not go back and do a James Wan and Lee Winnell movie like, I don't know, Insidious or The Conjuring, you know, and both of them work together on that. So I couldn't be like, oh, I'm counting this as my James Wan movie and this is my Lee Winnell. So I then had to make my list very central focused
around that.
Yeah, and I'll let Miz explain his, because his was a brainchild and a half.
Mine, okay, so when I think of like horror, it's like, what's your top 10 horror movies? I can't just say as a broad spectrum of horror. I have to break it down in subgenres. So I had a list of like a shitload of subgenres and like movies in there. And I was like, okay, now if I just had to watch one on repeat and can only cycle between these 10, which 10 would I choose? And that's kind of how I chose my list. It's easy in some senses, and then it's like super hard when you really get down to like your favorite like genre of horror. Like for me, like body horror, it's like really, really hard to fucking choose my favorite body horror.
When Miz told me the one, because he had like six between 6 and 8 for his psychological horror, and the ones that he listed, I was like, oh my God, I can't pick. I really can't. It was so hard. But like we both came to the agreement that it was like, hey, if we get stuck on a desert on a desert island and we had 10 movies, like all amenities were, taken care of for us, and we had 10 horror movies that we could bring with us to watch on repeat until we got rescued, what would our 10 be? And that's kind of like the basis of the agreement. I took mine one way, Miz took his the other way, and then we somehow still met in the middle. It was
but it was like we were talking about this for like, I want to say at least a good week, and like just kind of sitting there back and forth to each other. It was like, dude, how do I fucking choose this? This is the section I'm trying to go with right now. It's like, how the fuck do I choose this?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. They're all good. They're all so good. I don't know which one to pick.
Yeah, it was fun though.
It was.
Do you want to do like 2 apiece, or did you want to do it like back and forth?
We could do back and forth. I think back and forth would probably work, because then, if anybody's like, I would put that in my top 10 and whatnot. Because again, we extend this question out. Do you guys, what would your top 10 be? And you don't have to do it as complicated as we did.
Yeah, just if you only have like 8 movies you've seen and 2 others you wanted to see or something like that, just what are your favorite horror movies?
Yeah, just
even if it's not considered like mainstream horror, like even if it's still like jump scary and it gets you like that spookums you, I guess, or that you love, that's considered horror.
I agree. And then, if we comment, if either one of us throw one out there that you're like, ooh, that is a good one, that's going on my list, let us know. I love feedback. Ms. loves feedback. We feed off of that, and that helps us out with our next brainchild.
Us trying to figure out how we're gonna actually come up with another idea. We like sit here for like, sometimes it'll be like a 2 or 3 day stint that me and Jimmy would just sit here talking like, what the fuck do we want to do? And we'll just go through a bunch of different shit. And then like an idea like this lands into our lap and it's like, oh my God, how are we going to do this?
I think this is probably the most time we've spent on one project without planning like 2 others in retrospect. Yeah.
Yeah. That was like most of the time we'll sit and talk like on off days when we're not streaming or anything. And we'll sit there and talk and shoot the shit and whatever, and then talk about the podcast. But this one was like all about the podcast, like at least for like 2 of the times we got together, because we couldn't decide on like, how the fuck are we going to do this?
Yeah, it wasn't like a strenuous task, but it was like mentally draining, because like every time I thought about it, I was like,
how would I do this?
Do I want that one on my list? And another thing is that we also could not use again, this is not for you guys. This is not a stipulation for you guys in any way, shape, or form. This is something that we stuck to. We couldn't pick 2 of the same movie. So like if I were to say Halloween is my favorite slasher, I couldn't then come back and be like H2O is my favorite slasher with the hero aspect, because that would cover the entire franchise, writer on some of them and director on some of them, because yeah, I made mine unnecessarily hard.
Yeah, but it's in a fun way. Like it kept us engaged to the point where we're like, well, we really have to like pencil down specifics of like, what do we like about this?
Because I got mine on a notebook.
I did all mine on my phone like a loser.
I thought about doing mine on the phone, but I forget where my notes are, so I end up losing it.
That's fair. I'm unfortunately in my notes all the time for like parts lists and shit. So
yeah. That's fair. But do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Do you want to do honorable mentions first, or do you want to do those at the end? That's the question I have.
I think we should do our honorable mentions first.
All right, then I'll start with it. So the 5 that I didn't choose was, I had my subgenres were gore, sci-fi, religious, body horror, and thrillers. And the ones I had were Saw, Alien, Frailty, The Thing, and Stir of Echoes. Those are the 5 I did not put that I really wanted to.
I'm really surprised you didn't put any of those on your list. That is...
I will go on some of them. Like Saw, I didn't have a gore category because like when I think of like gore movies like that, like Saw is usually the one that pops in my head mostly. I know there's like other gory movies out there, don't get me wrong, but like Saw is the first one that like pops in my head. That's again biasism with James Wan, Lee Winnell, and Charlie Clouser for the soundtrack. I forgot Hoffman, his first name. He was the producer up until like the 6th one. I don't remember if it was David Hoffman, but I think his last name was like Hoffman, and he passed away like right before the 7th one.
Oh yeah,
was released, and they said like in memory of him. Like they've been on the project for all of them, but like that's when I think of like gore. It's like boom, Saw. Like that's immediately what I think. But I will tell you the sci-fi, religious, body, and thriller when we get to them.
I like it. For me, my honorable mentions, and Ms. might actually be a little surprised about this because I know I mentioned it to him, but I don't know if he retained. I don't know if he remembered the list or not. For mine, I have Insidious for my James Wan, Lee Winnell, Little Shop of Horrors for my comedy / musical, the OG Candyman, both the OG Candyman, the original Candyman, and the new Candyman, because I like both for different reasons.
I did like the iteration that they did of the modern one with James Peele.
I like Peele's iteration of it. He did a good job, and the fact that they brought back the original Candyman to do it.
Todd.
Yep, Tony Todd.
Gotta love Tony Todd.
I loved it. And originally I said all of the Final Destinations, which I love all of the Final Destinations. For like there's
one that you're allowed to not like. Just remember, there is one.
Yeah,
I think it's number 4, whatever the fucking racetrack one was.
Let's see. Like one was the plane, 2 was the logs, 3 was the 3D one with the state fair.
That was a roller coaster. That was a roller coaster. And so it's number 4 was the race car one, and then I forget what the 5th one was, but yeah.
The 5th one was geez, what was the 5th one?
I don't remember. I just remember that.
5th one was the bridge. 5th one was the bridge.
What's the bridge? Okay.
Was the bridge.
Oh, that's right, because the second one wasn't a bridge; it was just the fucking highway that just everything got fucked up on. That's right. So yeah, the fifth one's the bridge, but the fourth one, yeah, you're allowed to not like the fourth one. Fourth one's pretty bad.
I didn't think it was great. However, I did like the fourth one for a different reason. The only reason I would say the fourth one was bad was the simple fact it was the only one that didn't have Tony Todd.
Fair. I mean, it just I couldn't get into it.
I liked it because it was. I can understand it. I liked it because it was the first one that I saw in theaters, and
that's
with
fair.
3D.
I will give you that then.
Because the tire scene literally just had me in my chair in my seat with my popcorn. I was like, good heavens! But yeah, those are my honorable mentions.
All right, you want to start off with your list and your top one?
Are we going number 1 down, or are we going number 10 up?
Whatever you prefer, because I was gonna do either or. I'm ready for either.
Okay, I was gonna do number 10. I picked this one as my cult classic, The Monster Squad.
Monster Squad's a fantastic film. I still like, I have it on DVD and I still go back and watch that movie every so often. Like it still holds up to today. Like it's so good. The practical effects, like even the cheesy like background green screens, like it's just a fantastic movie. I fucking love that movie so much.
I loved Monster Squad because around the time that me and Miz grew up, we had access to some really great, what would be considered cheesy by today's standards, movies, and Monster Squad stuck out to me because it was a movie about kids fighting classic
monsters.
Yeah, like you had the Wolfman, the Mummy. The Mummy was awesome. Dracula was a douche. Wolfman turned out to be cool if I remember correctly.
No. Yeah. And then you also have the creature from the Black Lagoon. I think there was one more. I can't remember all of them. It's been a hot minute since I've seen it. It's just a great movie. And it's one of the few times that like having the classics brought into a modern setting that like was done really well.
Yes. And I just enjoyed it as a kid because it's not scary, but it's a horror movie because it deals with horror monsters. And I got that one down as my cult classic because if you go back and watch it and you're a cult classic lover, you will love the Monster Squad, in my personal opinion. And
it's a great movie.
So I think that was the most solid pick I had on this list. And my list doesn't go from least favorite to most favorite. It's just my top 10.
So for me, my 10th one was visual horror because like I'm a very big like visual horror person in some aspects, but like for me, House of a Thousand Corpses is like my favorite visual horror movie just because of like how zombies shoot certain scenes and that really just fucking I just really love some of his shots.
I do love House of a Thousand Corpses because that was a very brilliantly shot movie, and it because like the one scene that sticks out to me is when they're in the basement trying to get back upstairs and they take a wrong turn and they end up in that small little crawl space that was like a hidden little path. And like they just have arms coming out of the wall. And instead of shooting it like you're looking down the hallway, they shot it at an angle as if you were above them, kind of looking down after like the first arm comes through the wall. And then you're just like,
it's just really good. Like any scene that they do with Dr. Satan towards the end is like just visually one of my favorites. Just how like jump cutty it is. And the stills that you get are so good. Obviously, anything that they did with the actual deaths in the movie was really, really good as well. Like the way it was shot.
I agree. That's a solid pick. You picked that one as your visual?
That was my visual.
That's fair. That's a solid pick for visual. Honestly, I can't argue that one. My number 9 is my comedy pick, and I picked Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
It's such a fucking good movie. I love that movie. I don't care what anyone says. Movie is like a great B movie, got just fucking great writing, and it's just so bad. It's so good, and how they play on all the cliches is so fucking great.
My favorite scene from that entire movie is the scene where I forget which one's Tucker and which one's Dale. I think the little one's Tucker and then the big guy's Dale. And it's where he's getting stung by the wasps while he's operating the chainsaw. And he's just running. He just like comes around the corner as like these college kids are like trying to like see if they're the evil hillbillies that they've heard about. And as he's running towards them with the chainsaw, trying to get away from the wasps or the bees or what. I think it was bees. And they start running away from him, And at one point in time, him and one of the kids catch up to each other, and the kids and him are running side by side, and the kid's screaming, looking at him. He's looking at him, screaming because he's getting stung by the bees. And then the kid just runs into a stick, like right through his chest. And he's just like,
and then like a bee like flies near him, and he's just like, and then fucking dies. It's just so dumb. It's great.
It's honestly, it's just simple, stupid comedy. And I love it. There's a lot of slapstick involved. And there's just like a lot of like Ms. said, like horror tropes that would be considered cheesy if you've seen it in a modern movie, but it works for Tucker and Dale for that movie.
It works so much. It's so good. My next pick was fantasy horror, and I had to go with Pan's Labyrinth. Like I had to for two reasons. One, I absolutely love that movie, and then Guillermo del Toro. Like it, I can't go wrong with him.
No, you can't. He's a solid pick through and through. I was watching something of his that he put out recently on Netflix. I think it was,
I know what show you're talking about. I haven't seen it yet. I want to, but I'm gonna keep away from it for right now. I want there to be like a day where I'm sick and I have something to watch, you know?
Yeah, that's fair. I think it's The Skeleton Key. Or no. It's Cabinet of Curiosities. That's what it is. Yes. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And it, like, honestly, it has a lot of the same, like I've noticed this with a lot of his monsters, is that when he doesn't have to CGI, he doesn't. And I love that about Del Toro.
Oh yeah. And then he'll always call Doug Jones to come out and help him out.
And it's a solid team. It's why fix it if it's not broken? And
agreed.
Like, I remember when Pan's Labyrinth came on DVD, we borrowed it from a friend who lived next door to us. They were Puerto Rican, so they didn't have the English version. So I had to sit there and watch everything in Spanish with the subtitles. So I was doing this a lot. But when I got my hands on the English version, I rewatched it because I thought the whole thing was in Spanish originally. And when it's just the opening part where the girl doesn't understand Pan, and then after that everything's in English, I was like, this is like, I loved it the first time. I love it even more now because I don't have to try and translate for the rest of my family.
That's fair. It's
pick for fantasy.
I just love how the dark fantasy is of it, and like it's a very like, oh, it's supposed to be like the children's tale, but it's like you realize how dark and fucked up the children's tale is.
And you're just like, oh,
yeah, it's so good.
I think the thing that sat with me from that movie was, what was his name? The thing with the hand, the guy with the eyes in his hands, where he's just like,
yeah, Doug Jones.
Yeah, that dude is friggin' a solid movie monster. I love Doug Jones because he played in Legion, he played in Pan's Labyrinth, he was also in Hellboy,
Shape of Water.
Yeah,
Doug Jones has done so much shit. He's a fantastic person.
I think the first time the first time that I knew it was him, I think was in The Conjuring as the nun. The first time they showed him, because they had him as the nun the first time, and then they brought in a female actress for repeat appearances of the nun, I do believe.
I think so for Valak. I can't fully remember.
Yeah, because I know he played a couple of the monsters for practical effects.
He always does practical effect suits. It's amazing.
Yeah. Even when they CGI'd his jaw in Legion, it was forgettable. Oh yeah, he's just got the structure and the muscle in the face for like all of the makeup.
Oh yeah.
Let me see. For my number 8, I didn't have a specific genre for this one, so I just put it as Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow. I love that movie, not because of who all was in that movie other than Johnny Depp. You had Christopher Walken, Johnny Depp, Winona Ryder, and
you had new Dumbledore. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I want to say it's Richard, but him.
Yeah,
he had a big cast in that movie too.
He did, and it turned out so great. And the fact that Christopher Walken was the Headless Horseman still cracks me up to this day. Like, I wish he would have just spoke one line. He'd have been like, "I'm here, Sleepy Hollow. Give me your heads." But the fact that he didn't say not one line through that entire movie, and
just noises.
Yep.
Just noises.
And I think I may be wrong on this, but I think that he did a lot of the horse riding aside from like stunt stuff.
I don't fully remember. I never saw the behind the scenes on that one, so I don't have too much information on that one.
It's been a while since I watched it, so I'd have to go back and rewatch it. But I did love Johnny Depp as Ichabod in that movie. He did a friggin' top notch, just stellar.
Originally Ichabod was supposed to be a teacher, remember?
Yeah. He wasn't supposed to be a CSI cop from New York and stuff like that. But yeah, I did love him in that role.
I agree. No, he did a good job. For my next one, so this is where the thriller one comes into. So yes, I was very, very torn to not pick Stir of Echoes. I really, really love that movie. But I had to go with my all-time favorite, which is still Seven, because I love you will never relive the first time you watch that movie, but still just knowing how the movie ends and like seeing the small bits every time of like, oh, there he is. Oh, he's right there. Oh, and just like all the like little signs that they do. And it's just so good. Like I love Seven. And of course it's like super iconic with what's in the box. Like can't go wrong with that.
Honestly, I think that was like a lot of people give shit to Brad Pitt for him being in that role. I think he did a good job.
I think he did a great job.
I think he did a fantastic job. And then who is his co-star in that movie?
Morgan Freeman.
Yep. And
they very well off each other.
They did. And that was very surprising because I don't think they've acted in anything together before or since. I could be wrong, but
I don't know. I think they may have been together in other movies. I just don't remember off the top of my head. I'm not even thinking about it though, because I'm in like horror mode.
Yeah, same. But yeah, like the first time I watched Seven, I was not gonna lie. I was way too young to watch that movie. I think I was preteen.
Yeah, I think because it came out like 96 or 98. I want to say it was 98.
Yeah. And or like a year or two after it came out, we got HBO or Cinemax at the house. Like we got the premium cable package because my family could afford it for the first time ever, because my grandpa wanted me to be able to watch like cartoons and stuff like that. But I very rarely watched cartoons on it because my mom or my grandma were always stealing the TV. And I stayed up late one night because I had the flu. So I was just laying on the living room floor on a little cot we had made for me. And I kind of woke up and I just heard like the opening theme to Seven, where they're like doing the slow roll in and everything like that. And I just stayed awake
and everything.
Yep. And I was like, I just stayed up and I watched it. And then when it got to the what's in the box, I was like, what's in the box? What is in the box?
Yeah, when you don't know about the movie when you're younger, like, because that's how I was too when I first saw it. I was like, I didn't put two and two together. I was like, what the fuck's in the box? And I was like, oh, okay.
It's like, this horror movie had a sad end. I got it.
I mean, to be fair, most horror movies do have sad endings.
That's fair. I mean, unless it's like Army of Darkness.
That's a classic. That's a cult classic for me.
That's why I was torn, because I wanted it for my cult classic. I was torn between Army of Darkness and the Monster Squad. And I was
That's
like,
fair.
I was like, which one did I watch more of? And I was like, Monster Squad, because I haven't seen it in probably like 20 some odd years, give or take. And then, yeah, I was like, because like I wanted to put it in my honorable mentions, but I wanted to put some of my other favorites in there too. Like Little Shop of Horrors would have fallen into either my comedy, my musical, or my classic subgenre, my subgenre, because horror is a monster when it comes to breaking stuff down into subgenres. It really is.
Oh yeah, it really, really, really is.
For my number 7 is my cursed items pick, and it is Puppet Master.
Puppet Master's classic.
I didn't watch it in order because when I watched it, it was 1, 3, 4, I think 5 and 6 were out at that point in time. So I watched it either 5, 3, 1, 4, and then 6, or I watched it 3, 5, 4, 1, and then 6 sometime after that, because I remember the last one I watched was the one at the hotel. And I think that was number 6. I only
really remember the first one. I think I saw the second one years and years ago, but it's like the first one I know for sure I saw. And I love the first one. I didn't know that many fucking movies. Holy shit.
Yeah, they're like each one, they keep the main 3. So they keep the one with the nicer hands. They keep Pinhead, and then they keep, God, what's his name? He's the one with the really big head and tiny body that like they keep him in a majority of them. And then they add in a few others throughout like different parts of the movie. Cause one of them was about like was about the original maker's ancestor coming and finding the dolls and then making a new doll the same way he made the other ones. And I think that was the slug woman or the leech lady. Basically what she did was she looked like she was weeping, but she would open her mouth and a leech would come out. And I just like, I remember that as like the biggest like, oh, moment I had at that point in time in my life, because like you see Pinhead, the strong man of the group, opening a dude's mouth while he's laying down on the floor, and he's being held down by the thread from the other ones after his Achilles tendon got cut by the one with the nicer hands. And then the slug woman like kind of crawls up on his chest and just starts puking the leeches into his mouth. And I'm just like,
slimy yet satisfying.
Oh yeah. And that's how he dies, because he was trying to steal. I think he was trying to steal something from the hotel, or he was trying to murder someone at the hotel. And the dolls are meant to be protectors. And then I didn't see the versus one, which I think is like number 7 or 8. I think there's 8 now. Yeah, they had a puppet master versus something, and I can't remember what it was. I might have to Google that later.
Yeah, that'll be a later subject we're gonna have to go after.
Yeah.
All right. So my next one was I had to go in psychological, which is where I know we always love to talk a lot. And
yeah,
it's not like the one I watched the most, but I feel like it's the one that still to this day I feel like an impact from that movie, which is 1408. Like I had to do that one as my psychological, because the sheer fucked up part of that movie, like I apologize, huge spoilers. So if you don't want to hear, go ahead, turn it off or whatever. But like when he gets his daughter back, only to be like ripped away, like every time I see that, I'm just like, dude, that kills me inside. I feel like it hurts so bad internally.
That scene was the absolute worst. It is the absolute worst for me now. At the time, it didn't affect me. But
see, that's the thing, is I had my son when that movie came out, so like it's still hit home, and I was just like, oh my god, it's so good though. Like, that's why it leaves that lasting impression on me.
I didn't have any kids at that point in time in my life, but because I went back and I rewatched it, because it popped up on one of the many streaming services, and I was like, hey, I haven't watched this in a while. Let me go back and rewatch it. And when it got to that scene, like I legit paused the movie, went into my daughter's room and gave her a kiss on the forehead. And I was just like,
the movie fucks with you so much.
It really does. Like I was like, I'm gonna go get popcorn. I'm gonna go sit back down on the couch. I feel terrible.
Yeah. It's like I need to stop. I just need to see my little one right now. Make sure I'm okay.
Make sure she's okay. Make sure I'm okay. Make sure I'm not locked in a hotel room with some really messed up ghosts.
Yeah, exactly. It's just such a good, impactful thing. Like I said, like I think that's why, like I feel like as a psychological, that's like so fucked. But like what makes it so great in the movie. But yeah, it's such a shit situation.
It really is. And the thing that I remember the most from that movie was the scene where he was looking at the window, and like he was looking across it like a mirror image of himself, and it was telling him to turn around, and he's just like leaning in closer to the glass and like trying to figure out what it's trying to tell him. And then when he turns around, there's nothing. And then he turns back, looks at the mirror, the mirrored image of himself gets smashed in the back of the head by something. And then he turns back around and the thing's coming at him. And he's like, oh, that scared the absolute hell out of me at that time.
It's very, very good on how they did everything and set it up, because it does the little tropes of like, oh, gotcha. And it's really, really done well. Like, oh my God.
If you've not seen 1408, it is a Stephen King inspired movie. I highly recommend it.
It's very, very good. Very fucking good.
It is. Don't watch it with your little ones.
No.
It will give them nightmares, hands down, because I had nightmares, and I think I was about to be an adult at that point in my life.
Yeah, but I was like 18. I think it came out. I think it came out like 08 or some shit. I don't remember. It's been a while. But yeah, no, it's a fucking great movie.
Yeah, it messes you up a little bit. But yeah, let me see. Because I remember Samuel Jackson in that movie. Who was the main lead in that movie? It was, oh God, if you said his name, I remember it.
John Cusack.
Yep, he did very, very well in his role in that one. And the fact that it was only the big names in that entire movie was Samuel Jackson and John Cusack. You're like, because I don't know if that was direct to DVD or if it went to theaters or not.
I saw it in theaters.
It was? Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if it had or not, because I know that movies like The Silver Bullet and
The Langalords, was it Daywalkers?
Yeah.
Perfect Storm.
Perfect Storm was another good movie. I have not watched it.
I Have the Storm. I think it's I Have the Storm is what I'm thinking of. That was his book. Those were all like directed DVDs and TV.
Yeah, because I remember I watched they had like, I don't know if they had it everywhere, but at one point in time when they had the USA Network, it was a big like Stephen King movie.
Yeah.
Like they would have, they had like around Halloween time and like November time frame, they had like a big Stephen King marathon. They would play this one about the hospital. And I can't remember the name of it. I'd have to look up the name. That's a later look type of thing, but it was another Stephen King inspired one. And then they had this one show called Rose Red. And I absolutely love that. You can get it on DVD and Blu-ray, but at the time it was like one of their like parted episodes. Like they would give you part 1 this week, and then next week they'd give you part 1 and part 2, and so on and so forth until they finish the entirety of the story.
We're talking to a whole nother group of people around here sometimes, Jimmy. Remember, not everyone knows what you're talking about. Waiting a week to watch a show? What are you talking about?
Yeah, like I'm aging myself so bad. But
I have to look through the TV guide to see when it's going to be on.
Or call Movie Phone to see when the show times are at the theater. I used to do that every Friday night, so that way I knew which movie I was taking my date to. Yeah. I'd be like, hey babe, I know all the show times. I called my buddy at the movie theater. What's his name? Last name phone, first name movie.
Oh my God. Cool.
Yeah.
Simple times.
For my foreign, I wanted to put this as my comedy, but I stuck with Tucker and Dale as my comedy. For my foreign, Shaun of the Dead. I love that movie. It is one of my favorite zombie movies of all time. And it's so funny.
It's a very, very good zombie movie and comedy. Like it plays on all the tropes and stuff, and it does hit like serious themes and whatever. But like it's so good and stupid. Like you can't argue it. But at the same time, it's like, for me, that's what I like my zombie comedies to be. And then when you watch Zombie Island, I don't feel like it's a zombie movie. I feel more like a comedy movie because like there's not as much blood and gore. Even Shaun of the Dead is pretty fucking bloody.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm like, Shaun of the Dead was like one of the best zombie movies of all time.
Two of my favorite scenes in that entire movie was when they're coming out of the pub and they're drunk and excuse me, and they see the zombie at the end of the road and they're like, and they hear him go, and they're like,
always classic.
And then the part where what's his name is throwing the vinyl records at the zombie, and it's like
first zombie that they encounter. Yeah,
and it's sticking in them, and it's like actually like knocking the zombie back. And he's like, "It's not going down." Classic.
It's such a good movie. It's so dumb. It's so great.
It's so great. It's so simple and it's so funny. It hits you all at, like, it hits you in spurts. Like it's like serious, kind of serious, semi-serious, funny part, serious, semi-serious, funny part. You're like,
it's just done very well too.
It is, and I like the way that it was shot because it wasn't shot from like an all what's a good one? Dawn of the Dead, when they're like running from the horde of zombies and you can see like them, and then it slowly pans out and shows like them just monstrous amount of zombies chasing after him. It's like shot to Sean, shot to zombie, shot to Sean, shot to zombie, shot to Sean and zombie, and you're like, all right, okay.
Yeah, no, it's so good. My next one has actually, I forgot, it was a twofer on the honorable mentions. So my next one was sci-fi, and I love my Ridley Scott, and I didn't put Alien, which is very, very shocking. I know,
honestly.
And the runner up to that one was Event Horizon. Love both of those films, love them to death. But the reason why I chose this one, which is Predator, is just because it's one of those movies that I can always throw on. Like if I want something that's like pretty bloody and gory, and I just want to see like action going like crazy. Yeah, I could have chosen Aliens because in some ways that's the better one. But just there's something about Predator that I just absolutely fucking love. Like it's just classic.
My question is, are you talking about the new Predator or are you talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah, 1987.
Okay, yeah, I could see that, but I'm actually really surprised you didn't put Alien on there because
I know. Like when I told my wife that too, she was just like, "You're putting something above Alien?" I was like, "Yeah, I know. It's pretty scary, isn't it?"
I'm thoroughly surprised because I was fully expecting Alien to win your space race.
Predator is just funner to go and watch this shit blow up.
That's fair. That's fair. And then how can you forget the classic line? You are one ugly motherfucker.
See, my favorite scene is still just when they fuck up the jungle. Like that's the best scene. Like I fucking love that.
I like that scene. And then the other one is where Arnold Schwarzenegger's laying on his back and he's like, "What you doing? I'm here. Kill me now." And you're like, is he gonna live? Is he gonna die?
It's just a fantastic movie. It's just a great action pack. It's just got so many good one-liners. If it bleeds, we can kill it. Like there's just so much greatness out of that movie. So I just had to go with that one.
Dylan, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, there's just so many like great ones. Great one-liners.
It is. And then the meme that we got from it that's timeless, where you've got the actor, I forget his name, may he rest in peace, the guy that played Apollo Creed, he played Dylan.
Yeah. Well, oh my God, Carl Weathers,
thank you. Where him and Arnold Schwarzenegger grab hands, and then you just see the muscly armed
muscles, dude. They're massive fucking arms.
Like both of them were big because
I got you pushing too many pencils.
Like that, like they did a lot of quips. A fun fact about that movie, little side note. So what Arnold Schwarzenegger supposedly did was he went into the costume department and told them to make Jesse Ventura's arms 1 inch bigger than his. And then they went to the gym and they bet, I think it was like lunch or dinner or something like that. And when they went to the gym, they were like, all right, before we pump iron or anything like that, let's measure our arms. And Jesse Ventura, when he was getting interviewed, he was like, you know, what made me feel really good was when Jesse Ventura went to the costume department and my arms measured out to 1 inch bigger than the former Mr. Universe, Mr. Olympia, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And he's like, when we went to the gym and we measured our arms, my arms were 3 inches bigger and he bought me dinner.
Yeah, I was like, about that story.
I was like, wow, that's a great way to freaking play a practical joke. Be like, just tell him his arms are like 1 inch bigger.
Make him feel better. Self-confidence.
And the way that they did the interview is they did Jesse Ventura telling his side of the story and then cutting to Arnold telling his side of the story while he's smoking a stogie. And he's like, and my arms measured out to be 3 inches bigger. And you're like, all right, okay, that's pretty good joke.
It is. No, it really is.
But now this is going to surprise you because my next one is space, and I picked Alien because
you actually even went with that. So you know, according to our rules, we couldn't pick the same thing for the same category, and it almost did it.
Yep, that was another stipulation that we had. We both had to be like, hey, I put this one as mine. Do you want to use it or can I use it? And that was something that we did back and forth on a couple of them because I narrowed my list down to 20. And then from that 20 that Miz had on his, I narrowed mine down. And I was actually really surprised that he didn't put Alien on there because I was going to be like, all right, I got to mark that one out. But yeah, we landed right next to each other. Friggin' AVP situation going over here.
Yeah, for real.
But I actually had a hard time picking which Alien because I watched them out of order. I watched Aliens before I watched Alien.
Gotta go with the classic, man. You gotta go with Alien because it sets that in space, no one can hear you scream. Such an iconic, oh my God, this is gonna be a fucked movie. And then it's got the infamous chest burster scene and just it's a great movie overall. But that's why I hate James Cameron because he's made two amazing sequels. He had Terminator 2 and Aliens. You get those two sequels, fuck, I want an action movie. Yeah, I'm throwing on those two.
Yeah. Both of those are freaking solid picks in my opinion.
Oh yeah, no, they're great. They're arguably the best in the series. Depending on who you talk to.
And what was really funny is that they actually for the cover art of the VHS that I had of Aliens, I think I still have it somewhere. But it was just the egg and the outline, where the top of it meets and it all conjoins, was glowing green, had a green light coming off of it. And at the very bottom in black lettering with green outline on a black movie case, it said Aliens in space. No one can hear you scream across the bottom of it. And I was like, hey, Papa. He goes, my grandpa, he goes, what? I was like, can I get that one? He was like, yeah, sure. Because my grandpa was a long haul truck driver. So when we were on really long road trips together and we were going from New England to California, all I had was movies. I didn't have a cell phone or anything like that. So like I would just be sitting in the back, or sitting up front reading a book, or sitting in the back watching a movie while he was up front listening to his radio and stuff like that. And I would come out and talk to him about the movie. And when I watched Aliens, the scene that got me, that actually scared the living hell out of me, was the scene where they slowly look, or it happened in Alien too, because they did it in both. And this got me both times, was where they slowly look into the egg as it like bloomed open. And then they're like, looks empty, looks away. And then they hear something move, and then they look back, and then just
is the facehugger scenes are always like the best. Like, are some of the best. Like, I love it. Especially like the first one is just so good. That's why it's one of my sound alerts on stream. Like that fucking facehugger scene from the original one is like so good. And when it comes to the chest burster scene, like it is just pure, like honest reaction, because really didn't tell them that they were going to do what they did. And like just seeing everyone pause and then react again is like, you done scared everyone. Cause I made a lot of people leave the theater. My dad, when he went to go see it in the theaters, he walked right out after that scene.
I think, because if I remember correctly, they didn't have a whole lot of time between Alien and Aliens. I think it was like a couple years,
3 or 4 years. I can't remember.
And they came out. I thought both were James. I thought that was James Cameron's love child of Alien. But when I found out that it was Ridley Scott, I was like, okay, all right. But yeah, I became a Ridley Scott fan when I watched Alien. I became a James Cameron horror fan when I watched Aliens. So like I love the first one because it's iconic. The first chest bursting scene, and everything after that is just like,
it's just so good. It's so good.
So good.
For my next one, I did horror comedy, and there's a lot of good horror comedy. There's a lot of it. But one that like came out more recently that like I've still am obsessed with it is Ready or Not. Like I had to throw that as my horror comedy because it is done so well. It does just enough like super serious, like tension building stuff with like the goofy horror comedy bullshit. It's great. I think that movie really surprised me. Samara Weaving in it is fantastic, but like I think how it's shot, how it's told, and what they did with it, it felt original in some ways, and like it was a breath of fresh air. It didn't feel like it relied on too many stereotypes.
That's fair. I can see that. I still need to finish watching it. I have not watched it all the way through, sadly. I fell asleep.
Oh my God, you need to. It's so good.
But the reason I fell asleep wasn't because it was boring or because it was bad. It was because I had just gotten off of a double shift at the time.
That's fair.
So I ended up just kind of like sitting down and was getting ready to watch it. And I was just,
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about it. And I honestly didn't know it was a horror comedy.
Well, the crew that did that one is also doing the new one. It's a new one with the little vampire girl. I can't remember. Abigail, I think it's what it's called.
I think. Yeah, I think so.
I think that's what it is. But it's the same crew that did Ready or Not is doing that movie. So I'm there on it. Yeah, I'm 100% there when it comes out.
Oh, that's friggin' that. Like when you fall in love with it, like that's what I love about the horror genre, is that when you fall in love with a director, a writer, or a crew, or a specific like production agency, they just put out bangers, and it's always a fun time. I love a lot of like what A24 has been doing here recently with their horror stuff.
They still have some hit or misses, but like no, their horror movies have been very, very good. Like,
agreed.
They've been better than bad, I would say. When before it was like A24 was one of those like joke places where you're like, we know what we're getting with this. Don't take it too seriously.
Yeah, because I think I still remember when they were just like straight to DVD movie company, and they weren't putting out a whole lot of good ones. But like honestly, like here recently, it's just been friggin' a lot more hits than misses.
Yeah, they've been out of the park,
big time. But yeah, like I still need to watch Ready or Not. I'm gonna friggin' find time and make myself watch it because
please do, because it's so good. You'll love it. I promise.
I think what I'm going to do this weekend is, because since the wife works nights, I think I'm going to do a horror movie marathon as I'm like doing like odds and ends around the house and stuff like that. Is I'm going to watch Smile, Ready or Not, and then throw in some other like of my favorite ones on top of that.
Smile. Oh, I fucking cannot praise that movie enough. I mean, visually for me, and like I know the subject material on it is like very harsh for a lot of people, but I still felt like it was great. It's a fucked movie, but it's a great fucked movie. And there's like, I need to talk to you about like 2 specific scenes about that movie once you watch it, please.
Oh, I will. And then another movie that I actually kind of want to watch that I haven't, I like, it didn't pique my interest at first, but now I'm kind of piqued on it because I've heard somebody else talk about it. Was, God, what was it? Truth or Dare.
I've heard that too. I need to watch that. I've heard that was one I need to get into.
Because like what ruined it for me was that it was, when it came out, it was like all over my Instagram reels. It was all over, like a bunch of my friends on Facebook were watching it, and they were talking about it. And then it was on TikTok a couple times for like they were showing like the trailer or something like that whenever I'd go on there, and I was just like, whatever. It looks like your stereotypical movie. But one of my friends that me and her talk an awful lot. It's like me, her, and her wife. We talk an awful lot about like horror movies, and they recommend stuff to me all the time. And they're actually a listener of the podcast, surprisingly.
Oh, let's go.
I don't want to say her name because she'll get embarrassed, and then I'll get an angry text message. But yeah, her and her wife are like big horror movie buffs. Like anytime a new horror movie drops, they're like, they go to theater opening night and stuff like that to watch it. And they're like always giving me like bangers. Like I just recently recommended them Psycho Gorman, which is a movie that I found out was on Amazon Prime recently because it was originally a Shudder exclusive. And I like Shudder movies. I want Miz to watch it. It's very campy, but it's like 80s style movie shot with modern day stuff. So it's got that 80s feel without the fact that you got to like slap the VCR, shake the TV, smack the TV, hit eject on the VCR 1,000 times and hope it doesn't eat the tape, and then push it back in like at a certain angle and very slow. It's great. It's great.
I'll definitely have to watch it.
It's good fun. And it came out when Shudder first got announced as a thing. I love that one. And they both came back to me and they're like, hey, thanks for like the recommendation, because we both enjoyed it. It was like, it has funny parts, it has horror parts, it has gore parts, and everything. And this is what's going to get Miz to watch it. Everything is practical. Very minimal.
And I love practical effects. You can't go wrong with them.
Very minimal CGI, and the CGI parts are hilarious. But yeah, that's a solid pick. I got no issue with your pick. Because I haven't seen Ready or Not, but I'm going to watch it. I'm probably going to watch it this weekend. But for my next one is, since I did Cursed Items for Puppet Master, I did Haunted for my number 4, and that would be Dead Silence.
Okay, that's a pick.
Yeah,
I would not expect you to have done that one, honestly.
Yeah, because I had 3 for my Haunted. I had the original Poltergeist, not the weird remake that they did in like 2000 and something.
Yeah.
The Paranormal Activities, which, is one of the ones that I like for the wrong reasons. And it's not because it was jump scare heavy, but because of the fact that like all the scary, messed up stuff that happened to them wasn't told to them that it was going to happen to them. And it was some dude in a green screen suit coming in and messing with them. So like when she gets snatched out of the bed, the director told him, hey, go to sleep. We just need a shot of you going to sleep. And he would actually film them while they were sleeping. And that's why we had the sped up footage that was actually like 8 hours long of footage of them just sleeping in the same bed. And then what he did was he had like a radio, and he was like sitting there when like right after they had like officially fallen asleep. So they'd all been like recording this one scene for like 2.5 hours, 3 hours, something like that. And he goes on the radio and he's like, they're asleep, do it now. And this dude from wearing a green screen suit comes running down the hallway, busts open the door, grabs her by her leg, and then yanks her out of the bed and just drags her down the hallway. And then another dude in a green screen suit just shuts the door real quick. So when you see her get snatched out of the bed, that's genuine terror of her being like, Micah, slam. And he's like, what the? Because they didn't tell either one of them that this was going to happen. And so I love that one. But the other one I think was, God, what was the name? What was the name of that movie? I was just about to say it. Let's see. I'm thinking of Haunted House on the Hill. Haunted House on the Hill.
The one House on Haunted Hill?
Yeah.
The 90s version or the original?
Either one. I was I was being very indecisive on that one, so I settled on Dead Silence because I was like, if I had to pick one of these haunted ones, which one would I like to watch a lot? Because, and I settled on Dead Silence for two reasons. One, because I am terrified of dolls. I don't like them. Even though my daughter has dolls and she comes up, she's like, "Hey, Dad, look." I'm like,
Cool. Keep that over there.
"Very nice, honey. To get it the fuck away from me." But, and number two, because I still remember, I don't remember all of the poem, but I remember the first two. I think it's called a stanza. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not a big writer buff, but I remember. So. Yeah, I remember the first two lines, which is "Beware the stare of Mary Shaw. She had no kids, only dolls." And I like have to Google the rest of it, but it's like a really haunting, creepy little poem. And that stuck with me because that's how the movie opened, because I had the director's cut and the unrated version at the same time. And the unrated version shows you a whole lot more gore, and the director's cut shows you a whole lot more gore with a little bit of an extra bit at the end of
scenes, more scenage.
And both were great.
Yeah, no, that's a good pick. I'm just really shocked, but James and Lee can't go wrong.
Yep.
So for my next one, I did slasher, and I was like, okay, out of all the slasher films, which one do I like the most? Like for me, it is a Wes Craven thing, but it's Nightmare on Elm Street. But specifically 3 Dream Warriors. Like that is my favorite slasher movie. Like I could watch that movie nonstop. I love that movie.
The youngest one came in. She wanted something off my bed.
But no worries.
Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm surprised you didn't go with Scream, honestly.
I appreciate Scream, but I love a Nightmare.
I get that. Because to me, Nightmare, like, I think as far as like slashers go, prior to the Freddys, the Ghostfaces, we didn't really have, slashers with personality. Like they were just brooding, silent, and scary. We had our Jasons and our Michaels and our Leatherfaces. That's my biasism coming out. I don't like Leatherface. Don't hate on me because I don't like Leatherface, but it's just he's just not scary to me.
I get you. And no, I had to choose Nightmare because like I grew up with Freddy more than any other slasher. So like that's fair. I had to choose Freddy. Like me and my sister bonded over Nightmare on Elm Street.
That's fair. Surprisingly, I don't have a slasher category because I do love the slasher genre. Don't get me wrong, but like I couldn't settle on one because out of my 3 favorite slashers, I have my Michael Myers, I have Hellraiser, and I have it's a toss up between Jason and Freddy. I hold them on the same like caliber because both of them are iconic in different ways, because I got introduced to Freddy, then Michael, then Jason, then Pinhead, then Freddy. And that was the way that I got introduced to all of them because of TV. I watched them all in different phases of life. So it was like
I got introduced them to TV.
It's weird because like I didn't get introduced to him off of like one specific channel. Like we had at one point in time we had like AMC, and then we didn't have AMC, and all we had was Sci-Fi, and then we didn't have Sci-Fi, and then all we had was AMC, and they both showed different horror movies around Halloween time. And
yeah, no, I know exactly where you're coming from, where they show like the series, like they do the Friday series, the Nightmare series, Hellraiser, so on and so forth.
All this came back.
Oh, you're good.
But yeah, like I knew if you did do your slasher, I knew it was going to be a Wes Craven, but I didn't know if it was going to be Ghostface or Freddy.
Oh, 100% is always going to be Freddy. If you said like just all of Wes Craven films, it'd be a little bit harder.
Yeah.
But I will go with Freddy as my slasher. When I think of slasher, I think of Dream Warriors. Fucking love that movie.
I was going to ask you if like since you said Freddy, would it be Dream Warriors would be the one that you bring with you on the island?
Fuck yeah. Oh fuck yeah. 100%. Like I don't have to think about that. Like,
okay,
you can give me the original, the Freddy's Revenge, Dream Master, Dream Child, Freddy's Dead, Freddy versus Jason, New Nightmare, and the remake. Like you could throw all those in there. 100% always going with Dream Warriors every day of the week.
That's fair. If If it wasn't Dream Warriors, what would the second pick be?
Death.
I think he got scary. I think he got scarier after Death, in my personal opinion.
Honestly, if I had to choose another one, that's hard to do. Like, I probably would go with the original just because it's a cult classic. But like 3, fantastic.
Yeah. Like, I like number 1 for the fact that they did the whole Johnny Depp getting sucked into the bed and then the blood coming out with a room that was upside down. Like,
did you know during that whole situation, they didn't calculate for how much blood, water, and all that was in there, and it almost caused an electrical fire?
I did not know that.
Yeah, Robert Englund said in like one of the interviews that he had I forget the actress right off the top of my head that played Nancy. And like he had to pick her up and make sure like she was safe, and he was still like full Freddy makeup and everything when that happened.
Don't drown.
Yeah, pretty much. So it was causing an electrical fire.
Oh wow, that's actually pretty funny. Because I heard, like, when I was a kid, I always wondered how they did that, and then like I watched the Wes Craven documentary that they did where he about was it making the nightmare?
It was like making the nightmare, or like becoming, or it was something nightmare, or nightmare something. I know what you're talking about because I wanted to watch it, but it's like a 3-hour fucking documentary. I was like, oh my god. I was like, do I want to watch this right now?
And what's really funny is that they didn't solely interview Wes. They interviewed people that worked with Wes, and they interviewed people that worked for Wes. Like they interviewed like his assistant from like the 80s and the 90s. And then they interviewed like his sound crew lead, his makeup lead, his costume design lead and stuff like that. And then they cut back to Wes, and then cut over to like Robert Englund, or God, what's her name?
Yeah, Nancy Thompson's the character. I can't remember the actress's name right off the top of my head, and it's pissing me off.
Same. I'm like, what was her name? Shit. But yeah, like they interviewed like a lot of different. Bother me. Yeah, and it's honestly, if you're a big horror movie fan and you have a chance to watch it, I know it's 3 hours long. I highly recommend it because you get a look into like Wes's.
It was Halloween Camp.
Thank you. You get a look into Wes's like creative, because he tells you exactly like how he came up with. Oh yeah, he would go
through his whole thought process with it, because he does that in a lot of the behind the scenes of the first one and A New Nightmare. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, it's fucking R.I.P. Love you, Wes.
Yep. I love that documentary because I watched it just before they made Scream 3. I think it could have been 3 or 4.
I don't remember when that came out, but I do know about it.
Yeah, it's a great documentary, and I've watched it I think twice. And my favorite scene was, or my favorite thing that he was talking about was he was talking about the first Nightmare on Elm Street. He wasn't talking about any of his old movies. He was talking about the first Nightmare on Elm Street, and he was talking about the bed on the ceiling scene. He was like, we didn't know how to do it, so we just mounted it in with brackets and 2x4s and stuff like that, and the set design guys were really top notch. And then it cuts to the set design guy, and he was like, that took work. He was like really humble, like just really humble, and like, I remember that day.
It was not an easy day.
He's like, that took some work. But
yeah,
it was good. It was good because like not only did they have to mount the bed on the ceiling, but they also had to mount the tube that fed the blood in, and then they also had to find exact copies of all the posters, all the furniture, and everything like that, and recreate. They actually had to recreate a lot of it by hand and make the set to a 1-to-1 scale, so that way when it flipped upside down, it wasn't like, hey, that poster wasn't there before.
Yeah.
And it's just a great documentary. So yeah, R.I.P. to Wes. He's forever loved, and that was one of my horror movie icons I wanted to meet, and I never got a chance to.
That'd be amazing to have met him.
Yeah, just friggin' been like, hey, can you sign my shirt? For those that are audio listeners only, I am wearing a Ghostface shirt, and it says Ghostface in pink lettering at the bottom of the jaw. Brand new shirt. I like the shirt. Very soft, very comfy. It's my homage to Wes. For my next one, for my number 3, I picked musical, and I went with the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Solid choice. Very solid choice. If I did that one, it'd probably be Sweeney Todd personally, but no, Rocky Horror Picture. Yeah, no, I gotta go with that. I see, now I'm torn because I just thought about Repo. I love Repo the Genetic Opera as well.
Yep. That was when it came to the musical. When it came to the musical aspect, I was torn between the Rocky Horror Picture Show, Repo. Thank you. I kept wanting to say Operation. I was like, that's a board game. Repo, Little Shop of Horrors, and Sweeney Todd. And the reason I didn't pick Sweeney Todd is because I already had Tim Burton.
Fair. Yeah, that's fair.
And the reason I didn't pick Repo was because to me, it's iconic, yes. But if you say, hey, I don't, if you were to walk into like if there was such a thing today as a movie store to where you could walk in and buy like any video, any movie that you wanted to watch ever. And you were like, hey, I don't know what's a good horror musical movie I should watch. Very few people are going to recommend Opera because it's a very niche, great movie. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, no, I get you 100%. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but
yeah,
no, I 100% feel you.
But it was top-notch movie. And a lot of people are going to recommend either Little Shop of Horrors or Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I went with Rocky Horror Picture Show for the sole purpose of Tim Curry.
You can't go wrong with Tim Curry. I love Tim Curry. Mm-hmm. Legend is still probably one of my favorite movies of his.
Oh yeah. He was never claimed to be, or he was never named the devil in the script. He was named as the big red horned guy or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And he did a top notch job. Like that friggin' makeup was great.
Hated those prosthetics though. Oh my God. I don't blame him because they were like just all in his shoulders and his fucking head. Like that's so much weight.
Yeah. And they weren't light either. Like they were, I think it was like 25 pounds total, and having that sitting on your neck and shoulders, you're sore. 110% you are sore after that.
And it's not like perfectly balanced.
Yeah. Like you make one wrong move and you're like, I'm going over.
Yeah, but no, fucking legend. Fantastic. My next one was religious. That was my next subgenre, was religious horror. And I was very tempted to do The Conjuring. I really, really was, for my boys. But I didn't, because when I think of like religious horror, I think of the one that like most people do. And I still need to see the new one, but I heard it's not great. But it's The Exorcist. Like that left such an impact on so many people. And it's still talked about today as one of like the best horror movies. So pretty much being like, what? That movie came out like 75, 78. Yeah, something like that, like mid late 70s. And it's now 40 years later and we're still talking about it. Like it's obviously doing something. It's a great movie for a reason.
Because I like that movie messed me up as a kid.
I think that's like a lot of people's first like true horror experience in some ways, because like now by today's standards it's very tame, so it's on TV now. And
wow, we were both off by a lot. 1973.
It was 73. Okay, I thought it was earlier, but yeah, I thought 75. But yeah, no, so it's a very like it's still talked about. Movie's 50 years old.
Yeah,
and we still talk about it.
Yeah, and it was for those that are old enough to remember the early days of YouTube and the jump scare videos.
Oh my God.
There was this one video, and I still remember it exactly how it was laid out. It starts off as a rock. You can still find it on YouTube. I'm 110% sure of this. It's a rocking chair, and it's green, and it's like showing a TV flickering and stuff like that. And it's like, don't take your eyes off the rocking chair. And then the rocking chair slowly starts to like rock. And then it's like, did you see that? Let's slow it down. And then it shows like the chair rocking slower. And it's like, nope, you still missed it. And then it cuts to the friggin' little girl's face after she's been fully possessed and it's all cut up and everything. And it's just a scream. And you're like, ah, yeah, we did that in the computer lab at school.
Oh my God. That's really dating. Computer lab.
We did that in the computer lab at school. And what was messed up is that we had the speaker turned all the way up and we scared the ever living shit out of the teacher. Like she was standing at the front. Like we were supposed to be working on like we weren't supposed to be working on like homework or anything like that. We were supposed to be playing like math games or something.
Yeah.
You know, like
because computer about you're typing and or playing random ass games if you did really well on whatever subject.
Yeah. And she was standing up there like looking at some papers and they went everywhere. And we were like I tried to click out of the video, that didn't work, and then I tried to freaking turn the volume off, and then I turned it up even louder, and then it was just a bad time. We all got in trouble. No one got suspended, but like the principal was like, "I'm very disappointed in you boys. What was the video that you were watching?" And we're like, "Okay, it was this one," and we showed it to her, or we showed it to him, and he's like sitting there, and he was like, "I don't see how this is scary." And then what was funny is I didn't know this, but if you watch anything scary without the sound, it enhances the fear factor tenfold. And he was like sitting there, he's like, I don't see what was so scary about this. I don't see what the problem is. And right as he says that, it shows Regan's face just, and he's like, Jesus Christ. He's like, oh, that got me. And I'm like, kid me wasn't aware of it, but I'm pretty sure like adult me is like, you little motherfuckers.
Yeah. If that happened to me now, I'd definitely be like, oh, the fuck, kids are assholes.
Kids are dicks. Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say we ended up getting suspended we didn't get suspended from school, but because we got suspended from the computer lab for like a solid month after. So we were just like sitting out in the hallway, like, whoops.
Yeah, no, I'm saying because the reason why I chose that one though over my honorable mention, which was Frailty, is because just. We're still talking about that movie. That movie's 50 years old, and it's still considered one of the best things, you know?
That and 90% of the effects in that movie were all practical.
Yeah, it's done very, very well. Like, it's dated. Yeah, I know it could be like way gruesomer or whatever by today's standards or whatnot, but like it still is obviously having an effect to a lot of people because like there's still people that are our age or slightly younger, slightly older. Like, I won't watch that movie.
Yeah, no, like I will not watch that movie by myself to this day because like that movie scared the ever living piss out of me as a kid because when they walk into a room the first time and she's like, sitting there and her head just slowly spins, I was just like, if you watch Scary Movie 2, the part where he's like, fuck this, and like goes to run, that's me as a kid. I was like, nope, so much no. And yeah, like that stuck with me. The pea soup fucked me up too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it still has effect, even on a dated movie. It still affected us. The movie was 27 years old when I was born. So like when that came out, well, not 27, right? Am I doing my math right?
73.
All right, 17 years. Sorry, 17 years later, and I was born. And then all of a sudden, you know, you're fast forward when I've been watching horror movies, that movie still left an impact on me. And even still to this day, like with people I talk to, it still affects them today. Like it did something. It did something very well.
Yeah, it is a very, even though it's dated, it'll still get you because it's a good combination of like suspense and jump scare. And I mean, it was even referenced in the 2000s with Scary Movie 2 because we had Scary Movie 1 came out in like 2002, I think it was. And then we had Scary Movie 2 come out in like 2003.
2000, my friend, 2000.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, like they had that as the first reference of the movie. And I'm just like, what was funny is I was born 92. So it was when it came to Scary Movie 2 being a little bit raunchier than Scary Movie 1. And me not getting the references, I was like still sitting there like, ha, 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 ha. My grandpa's like, he's too young to watch this. He's too young to watch this. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, he stuck his little hand in the mashed potatoes.
I also miss, like, I feel like the 90s and early 2000s is one of those like fever dreams because it was just like, there was just the dumbest shit that was just the funniest and greatest or the bloodiest for whatever fucking reason.
It really was. Like, it was like a combination of like the Wild West with like a minimal path of focus where they were like, this is kind of what we want, but how we get there, we don't know.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh my God, there's so much happened.
It's fucking hilarious.
But yeah, that Scary Movie 2, Jesus Christ. That I thought that was a fever dream for the longest time.
Oh, it's the funniest shit. Like I said, there's just something about old comedy in some ways, as stupid as it was. Like Lily was talking to my wife earlier today about this, how it's like, we used to make fun, or like we make fun of kids nowadays, like, oh, wow, the Gen Z humor is super stupid. Like, why do they find this funny? And then we just started doing like the betcha, and like all the old, like Newgrounds memes and stuff like that. And I'm just like, yeah, we really have no room to talk.
I reference I'm at soup at least like once a month.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Why are you buying clothes at the soup store? Fuck you.
It's just so fucking funny on it, just that differences, but like it's still like even like the comedies that they're doing nowadays I get, but like I feel that Gen Z humor in some ways, and I'm just like, I don't get it. I know it's supposed to be funny, but I don't get it.
it's like what am I laughing at? Oh, that part. Ha ha ha.
I'm really feeling old in some of these, like I don't know the terminology nowadays and I'm scared.
Yeah,
what are they talking about? Are they talking shit or are they making fun of me? I don't like this.
Is this what my parents felt like? I don't like it. Take me back, ma'am. Take me back. Take me back to when stuff was like awesome or wicked, not slay and rism.
Hey, Riz and no cap.
I'm like, what? I got a hat. You need to borrow one? Is that what we're asking? Like, you mean, oh, you're telling me you're saying you're not lying. Okay.
I got that.
Kind of. And then you got the on God. Like that cracks me up. That cracks me up so much because I'm just like,
well, some of the people we play games with, like they're on the younger side and they'll bring that up and I'm just like, what do I do?
like me and Miz are just like sitting there as the two old farts and we're like, ha 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 ha.
Got what you mean, kid. I got what you mean.
Totally risen on that one. You use that reference wrong.
I don't care about your hip new lingo. I got my own lingo.
I don't want to learn new stuff. It's just, old stuff works best.
Really turning into old people, man. I swear to God.
Oh my God, it's so bad. Yeah. But yeah, the freaking, as impactful as The Conjuring it was and still is, I gotta hand it to freaking the original Exorcist, because like that one, hands down, and like that one is not only a classic, but it's like a good, for me, I would say it's a good starting horror because it makes it to where you're kind of like,
I would agree on that because it's a very dated movie, but you can still see the practical effects and everything on how it's still a shape in the horror universe of like history of like why practical effects work, why it's so horrifying, why just proper storytelling, even like in the religious settings, like how good it can be.
Yep.
You don't need a lot of like flashy or like so much religious overtone. You just need to know it's like devil versus God and leave it as is and watch the battle happen.
Yeah, like they freaking just leave it to the most simplistic good versus evil that they could come up with, and it's terrifying. And it's like, it's just so good. So good. So my number 2 is a very niche movie, but if you get a chance to watch it, I recommend it.
I thought this was the last one. I counted 10.
Let's see. We did Monster Squad, Tucker Dale, Sleepy Hollow, Puppet Master, Shaun of the Dead, Alien, Dead Silence, Rocky Horror.
Deleted one by accident.
For my number 2, this is a very niche film, but this one is my supernatural / psychological. So it's a combo because
that was one I accidentally deleted. I know exactly what it was though.
Okay, it's called Lake Mungo, and it is.
Yes, you have mentioned that.
If anybody out there gets a chance to watch this movie and you're a horror fan, I highly recommend this one because it's a documentary style. It's a documentary shot style horror movie. So it's like what would be a good reference for this? It's kind of like paranormal. Well, actually, it's more Blair Witch and Paranormal Activity kind of have a mesh sort of where you don't know if what's happening is really what's happening. And then like later on, you find out what's happening is because of the supernatural aspect of it. But quick synopsis of the movie is that a girl goes to a famous lake down in Australia and then they can't find her. And then the family is like being interviewed about her. And as they're being interviewed, they're showing like clips of weird stuff happening around the house. And it's a good movie. Like it scared the piss out of me. It really did.
That's fair. No, I love a good movie that does that. My pick, and the reason why I remembered it was also psychological, but it was the one that stuck with me the most. And I still praise this movie to this day and still watch it almost like at least once a month, is Black Phone. It is I don't know what it is about that movie. I fucking love that movie like so much.
I have to agree. It's a damn good movie. Like,
Oh my God, I love that movie.
I went in watching it with the aspect of having like no expectations from it, and it was still like all my expectations were blown out of the water if I had any when I went in.
The funny thing for me with that movie, when it was coming out, all I heard, it was the same crew that did Sinister, and I was like, okay, and it's got Ethan Hawke. I love The Mask. I'm sold. That's what I went in thinking. And as I went in there, I didn't realize it was like set in the 70s, like, you know, serial killer era. And I wasn't aware of that until like I saw, I was like, oh, I didn't realize the setting. And then once I saw that setting and just how everything developed throughout that movie, I was just like, oh my God, this is such a good like homage to the time. It does a very good way of storytelling. The pacing's great. And just seeing how fucked up it is. Oh, it's such a, I love that movie. Like I cannot praise that movie enough.
I think I'm going to watch it again, honestly, because I've watched it twice now, but I want to watch it again.
Well, I've watched it like 14 times already, if not more. Like it's so fucking good. I do not get tired of that movie.
Honestly, I think it's the one of like, it's not the, I wouldn't put it in the greatest category, but I would definitely put it in like one of the best horror movies that have come out.
For me, I would throw it in the greatest. Like it did something for me. I love that movie. It is so good.
Yeah. I think for me to put something in the greatest category, it has to have been out for minimum like 15 years. Like, it's kind of like a vintage. Like once you once you let it age a little bit, and it's kind of like it's
popularity like, and everything.
You're like, that was a good movie. That was a great movie. But it's honestly, it is a great movie. Today
I cannot not stop talking about that movie. Like I said, that and Smile like are the two most like recent horror movies that have like stuck with me, and like I'm like I need everybody to watch these movies because I need to talk about them.
Yeah, I need to watch Smile. I'm gonna watch that this weekend. That is my ode to you, my promise to you. I'm gonna watch that this weekend because
after you watch it, shoot me a text whether you liked it or not. That's all I need to know.
I'm just gonna text you, dude. What the fuck? What the fuck?
Oh, there'll be parts. There's two scenes I want to hear your opinion on, and then there's like two scenes I want to talk about just for like visuals that I loved.
I can dig it. Yeah, that's a solid pick for your number 2 for psychological, because that was a very psychological movie. That was, I still don't know it. Oh, never mind. Hold on. I don't want to give out any spoilers.
Yeah. Just stop it there.
I can't recommend this movie. I can't recommend Black Phone and Lake Mungo enough. Those are the two solid picks. I really want Miz to watch Lake Mungo and then for him to give me his opinion on it. Because I
definitely will. What's it streaming on?
I think it's on Prime, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Let me double check. But not Lunk Mango. What? Jeez, I can't talk. I can't spell. I just typed in Lake and it popped up. It's a 2008 horror mystery, but I'm sorry. It's on where to watch. It's on Tubi, Fandango, Plex, Amazon Prime, Freevee, YouTube Video for $3.99, and Google Play Movies also for $3.99. So take your pick. Here is the artwork.
Yeah, I saw it.
It's a great movie. It's got, just to give you a backstory, this was a foreign film, number one. Number two, it was a fairly small budget. So it was kind of straight to DVD and straight to streaming services. But since it was back in 2008, it was straight to DVD. But it got a 6.3 out of 10 on IMDb, and it got a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. For a horror movie, that's fantastic. Like that is a solid friggin' rating, because like those are the,
well, it's backwards, but yeah.
Yeah, it's got a 96% on the tomato meter and an audience score of 62. That's friggin' fantastic score for that type of movie. But yeah, I highly recommend Lake Mungo and Black Phone. To anybody that likes psychological movies like myself and Miz, if you watch either one of those, you will not be disappointed.
Oh yeah.
And if you are, watch it again.
If you are, then have better taste.
You're entitled to your wrong opinion. We're kidding. But yeah, both of them solid movies. For my number 1 pick, that is my psychological, and that is Oculus. Hands down.
Mike Flanagan. That's a hard one to beat.
I didn't put these in favorite order, but I did put Oculus at number 1 because that was the like that was my most recent psychological movie that I can remember to date for horror. That just, it tripped me up on so much. And I've watched it multiple times and I still go back and notice different things. And I'm like, did they do that on purpose or was that just a flub up from the props? Because there's one scene when I watched it relatively recently where he comes.
You were telling me about this. I remember that.
The brother goes either to the bathroom or to the kitchen or something like that, and he comes back, or he leaves a glass of water on the table of where they're watching the mirror at. And when he comes back, he sees his sister standing in front of the mirror, and then that glass is moved to a different part of the table. And I still don't know if that was a part of the movie or a flub up in the props department, because after that scene, the glass was never there. So it's like, what?
What's going on? What's going on?
And it's just, it's the ending, from beginning to end, that movie had me like,
yeah, no, it's a very, very good movie. I do love Oculus. I 100% can see why you chose that. Like it is a great mindfuck. It is a very, very good mindfuck movie.
Because I was this close to putting American Werewolf in London as my number one, because I do love that movie, and it does have psychological aspects. But the reason I didn't was because Oculus just messed me up for days. Like I was like, what? Like I did research into this movie. I was like where did they get this idea from? Like what caused this? Like who did this? And I was just like, Mike Flanagan was just. He's my favorite psychological horror director, hands down.
Yeah, my wife loves his work.
Anything with his name on it has a seal of approval for me so far, because I watched Oculus, I watched Haunting on Hill House and Bly Manor, and then
I need to see Midnight Mass. I need to see the Netflix shows. I also need to see, he has another one that I think was like earlier than Midnight Mass or something like that. I mean, he's got another film that I haven't seen yet either. But
I'm gonna Google him.
No, but that's a very solid pick. Like I can see exactly why. Like I said, the way you love Oculus right now is like, that's my black phone right now.
Yeah. Like the worst one that I think that he did honestly was Dr. Sleep. And I don't even think Dr. Sleep was bad. Dr. Sleep was
really good. That was the other one. I heard Dr. Sleep was very, very good, but I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know. But I trust a lot of people, especially when it comes to Ewan McGregor. Like he can't really do too many wrong movies.
Oh yeah, no. So here's a quick filmography from Mike Flanagan. You have Dr. Sleep from 2019, Gerald's Game 2017, Hush 2016, Oculus 2013. I agree. The Life of Chuck. I don't know when that's coming out, but it's got the guy that played Loki in the Marvel movies.
Tom Hiddleston,
thank you. Ouija, I like the first one. Before I Wake, another good movie from 2016. I did not know he did that. And Absentina. I've heard about Absentina. I have not watched that.
Okay. Yeah, I need to watch his filmography, because I do like him, and I like him enough to where I want to learn more about his movies. So I'm going to give him more shots. Just I don't know when.
Yeah, no. Like if you get sick, knock on wood, and you were to stay home for like an entire day, you know, with the runs, upset stomach, whatever, knock on wood, and you were like, hey, you know what? I'm going to give Haunting on Hill House a shot. Like you will not be let down. That's
what I've been hearing. And that's what makes me nervous to watch it, because most people recommend things to me. I'm like, yeah, it's all right. I'm hoping this is not one of those situations, but I'm very nervous too, because in case it is, I don't want to disappoint anybody.
No, it's not one of those situations, because like I actually am contemplating on going back and rewatching the whole series all over again, because like there's still some shit that I seen in the show that I'm just like, was that because this or was that actually happening? Like, and from what I understand, Mike Flanagan stayed true to the original author's book.
That's what I heard. Yeah, and like he was very, very like descriptive on being as accurate as he could. So mine is a no shock on the category, which is body horror.
Yeah.
But the shock is I didn't choose The Thing.
What? Wait. Did not choose you are shitting me. You did not choose The Thing.
Did not choose The Thing. I love The Thing. I love John Carpenter's The Thing so very, very much. But when I think of body horror, the movie that still stands out to me, just because you see the slow deterioration of man into monster, is The Fly. Like, the practical effects, the slow the deterioration of him like being super obsessive and compulsive, and then like the very end of him just like that full transformation being really fucked up. It's so good in a body horror aspect.
I am 110 because when we were talking about this, when we were sharing our list and we were talking about stuff, you told me that it was a chalk up between The Fly and The Thing, and I was 110% sure you were going to pick The Thing.
I think in most of the podcasts, I usually bring up The Thing at least once because I love that movie. I will always love that movie. But when I think of body horror, like just Cronenberg's version of like how Jeff Goldblum just descends and the prosthetics and the practical effects and everything they did with that movie is just better. Unfortunately, like I love how they did everything with that movie. So like The Fly has my body horror. Like that's my favorite. Like I have to. Like The Fly is so good. It's classic. It's iconic.
That's really surprising. I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna pick The Thing. I'm not gonna even come close to touching that one. I was like, I'm very surprised.
Yeah, I figure a lot of people will. I told my wife that. She was also like really shocked at me. She was like, you who like preaches this fucking movie. I'm like, yeah, like I know it's weird.
It's like, yeah, that's why when you were like, is not The Thing. That's why I was like, wait. Who are you? What did you do with Miz?
Like I said, I
wow.
billion% love The Thing. I'm not denying it's a great movie, but like just The Fly's practical effects and that, like I said, just seeing the deterioration of man into monster is done so well in The Fly. So like I have to go with The Fly.
I even though I'm surprised, I have to agree because I feel like Jeff Goldblum was more in his element with that movie than anything he's ever acted in. Because like you as he like slowly descends into that madness, like you see more Jeff Goldblum than you do who he's playing in the movie, and you're like, okay, this is the road we're going on. This like wow, but yeah, I was 110% sure you were gonna pick John Carpenter's The Thing because
I was this close.
You didn't have not one John Carpenter on your list. I'm very surprised.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Like. That's why this was like such a gut wrenching experience because it's like I praise John Carpenter and like he's not on my list.
Yeah, that's why I was like
Clive Barker.
Fuck yeah, is not no what? Who are you and what have you done with That wow, you had I think I take it back. My list was not as hard as yours.
Like I said, like it hurt because I have to go by genre because I can't just go. Because it would be a lot of Clive Barker, Wes Craven, John Carpenter movies. Like I'd even throw Tom Savini's films in there. George A. Romero wasn't even on my list either, and I love George A. Romero.
Oh yeah, fuck. I'm actually surprised you didn't pick a zombie movie. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, like it hurt internally. I was like killing myself. Like, why aren't you putting them on there?
Those like that was kind of like the internal struggle I had with a couple of them. But like shit, yeah, that's. Wow. I'm thoroughly surprised that there wasn't any Carpenter, there wasn't any Clive, there wasn't any friggin' Savini.
And technically, my boys aren't even on my list. My James Wan and Lee Winnell are not on my list either.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I put Saw as a runner-up.
Yeah. Wow.
Like this was wild cards everywhere with this one.
Yeah, I honestly like for a couple of them I was expecting, but like you threw a fucking monkey wrench into that one for me. Like there was a few that I wasn't expecting because especially for body horror.
Yeah, and I preach my body horror. I love my body horror.
I'm actually surprised you didn't put Werewolf in London on your list either.
Yeah, I am too. Like this is one of my favorite transformation scenes of all time. I still think that is probably the best, but everyone will always say The Howling was better, which I don't agree with. I love American Werewolf in London so much more.
Yeah, I think American Werewolf in London is a way better transformation scene than The Howling because they more practical, less animatronic.
Sounds more painful to me. Like just like hearing all the bones and like the way they do the practical effects, seeing his hand like fucking stretch out, like everything about the movie I love. But like like I can preach these movies, but like they didn't make my top 10 list because of like the way I had to deviate up in my mind. It's like fuck again. Ridley Scott not being on my list either because of Alien. Like come on.
Yeah, like and like that. Yeah, that's very surprising. I'm actually surprised I put Ridley Scott on my list because if like I never thought that I would have to pick. Like this was a tough subject for both of us, honestly, because like I was torn between aliens. God, I forget which Hellraiser it is when they go into space. I really like that one because that was technically the end to Hellraiser, quote unquote.
If you haven't seen the reboot, highly recommend it.
Oh yeah,
it's on Hulu.
The reboot is great.
I'm gonna tell you guys right now, if you are like a music person, it has got one of the best horror soundtracks I've heard in a very, very long time. And the very last track on that album is called Apotheosis. Oh my God, it's so good. The end of that movie is like one of my favorite endings of all time. And that goes to my body horror side. So good.
Yeah, that's why I was surprised that you didn't have Hellraiser on there. You didn't have for your slasher or body. Then what was the other one that was like really malleable that you could have put in there that was on your list? There was a lot. There was honestly a lot, but one of them was, oh my God, I just had it in my head, Ghost in the Darkness, because I was going to do like nature and everything. That was one that was man versus nature or man versus animal, or you could throw it in as a slasher in some senses. You can throw it in as a thriller. I love Ghost in the Darkness as well. The movies that I keep telling people to watch is like not on my list. Yeah, same. Minus Oculus and Lake Mungo for me. Like the other ones are just kind of like ones that I very rarely talk about. I think like, let's see, for if I were to do the nature genre, I think I would have to go with.
I mean, I've also got one of my favorites right behind me. So
yeah, Arachnophobia. Let's see, if I were to go with nature, it would either have to be Eight-Legged Freaks or Alfred Hitchcock's Birds.
That's fair. Yeah, that's a classic. That's a classic for sure.
I loved Eight-Legged Freaks because of the scene where like you see the spider slowly crawl up behind the dude's armchair and he's just like sitting there watching TV, and then it just like cuts to the people at the mall and you're like, what happened to the dude in the armchair? What happened to him? And then the scene with the jumping spiders, that was great.
That's a great scene. Yeah. As CG to the fuck that movie is. My favorite thing though is that like it's not a bad campy, it's a fun campy. And what I really like about it too is that like I love how it's the classic trope of like the insects are more intelligent than the people. And like I love when you see like when they're in the mall, like you see like one of them crawling on this thing and just like you see them like move forward, like they telling everyone to move forward, and it's like, oh, classic. And the little squeaks with it. Eight-Legged Freaks is a classic.
Oh my God, yeah. I'm probably gonna watch that this weekend too.
I'm gonna watch it on my day off on Sunday. Maybe. Yeah. I have too much stuff to do, really.
Yeah. I mean, if you find some downtime, you can friggin' do like a watch party and friggin' just like, I'll throw on Lake Mungo. You can throw on Smile.
I was going to say, so like, I do want to do a watch party eventually, but like, I have so much editing to catch up to. Once that's done, I'm going to be,
that's fair.
Make myself a lot more available.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I'm not going to rush that or push you on that or anything. You just let me know whenever you're ready. I'm going to watch Smile this weekend.
I'll tell you right now, I have a friend that one of my mods, I owe her the watch party first because we're going to do all classic horror movies. Like we both have a like top 100, like 1920 to 1947 horror films.
If one of you guys does not play Monster of the Black Lagoon, I'm going to slap you with my wrist.
We will, but we're watching like Nosferatu, the original like 1924 Beauty and the Beast, and a lot of other like old black, like a lot of old black and white movies. So
I'm so in for that. Let me know when it's happening, and I'll hop in and mute up.
Like a server announcement and stuff like that. Don't worry.
Hell yeah, that'll be great. But yeah, I would say, as far as like top 10 lists go, I think that I might have put myself through like the ringer on some of these decisions, but Miz put himself through hell.
I really was like, I preach all these movies and then like none of them are in my list. It's like, especially some of my favorites.
Except for Black Phone. Black Phone is yeah.
I cannot stop preaching that movie. Ever since I saw that movie, I've been like pushing that on everyone. It's like one of the very few movies I've been pushing on everyone. Like I need people to see this movie because it's so fucking good.
It's like one of those like you're in the library like looking at books and like someone's like, have you heard about this one? And they just pop around the corner. You're like, who the hell are you?
Yeah, exactly. It's like one of those, if you like that, you should definitely try this now.
How'd you get up there?
Don't ask questions. Just go do it.
But yeah, like I think I've preached Lake Mungo like a handful of times here on the podcast, but like from what I remember, it was a good movie because like I'm going to date myself so hard. I rented the DVD of it because me and my ex-wife used to love to watch horror movies together. And I would always get a horror movie from Netflix. And this was back when they used to send out DVDs in the mail versus letting you stream it. So we ended up watching Lake Mungo.
You could stream some stuff. There was some that were streamable. 99% of it though was you gotta mail it.
Yeah, the Lake Mungo was one of that 90%, surprisingly. And then because like it was a really weird time because they only had like they only had like at the time that I rented Lake Mungo, they only had like 6 movies that were streaming on their service, and they would swap out once every like 2 to 3 weeks, and they were never in
refresh categories.
They were never any good ones. It was like The Notebook or like I've watched it. If you really
audience stuff,
yeah. If you go back and with like if you love The Notebook and you go back and you watch it with like a critical mind, you're gonna notice that what he did was kind of creepy.
I've never seen the movie,
so basically,
I know how it ends, but I've never seen it.
If I remember this correctly, basically. He was in the military, got a Dear John letter, comes home, builds her a house. Here's where the creepy part is. He wrote her a letter every day for a year, but she was happy with another person, and he still built her a house. Like if you go back and watch it, he's got some very creepy stalker tendencies, and you're like, this is romantic.
It's the best romance. I don't know what it is with like people in stalker, like almost like Stockholm syndrome and stuff like that. Like almost like there's like a lot of people that are all for that stuff.
Yeah, it freaks me out to some degree because I'm like, ugh.
Whatever floats your boat, just keep me out of it.
Yeah, as long as I mean, hey, you know, do you by all means, but I'm not participating in that. What is this? But yeah, it was like my ex-wife wanted to watch it, and it was just like, do I gotta? She was like, I'm not going to say what she gave me in return. It would not very safe for work, but it was one of those situations. If you want Cheetos, if you want Cheetos, if you want any more Cheetos, you got to watch The Notebook with me. I was like, fine. And then that's how I got roped into watching all of the Twilights and 50 Shades of Grey. The
most I've seen of both of those series is whatever's been on commercials. Like when they were promoting them. That's the most I've seen out of any of those films. I have never seen those movies. Not even see how bad they are.
I wish I could say that because okay. So for the first Twilight, when it was in theaters, I was not with my ex-wife at the time. I was single. But I literally got forced against my will, dragged into a movie theater by 5 girls that one had a hold of this arm, 2 had a hold of me around my back, and then 1 had a hold of my shirt. Were pulling me into the movie to watch that. And I'm just like, I don't wanna. And they're like, no, you're gonna watch this. And I was just like, I need an adult. It was either I dislocate my shoulder, try to run away, or I rip my shirt, try to run away, then dislocate my shoulder, or I just go along with it. And I was just like, fine. Because it wasn't like that playful, like grab, like, come on,
watch this.
Like they grabbed a hold of my shirt, twisted their fists in, and were like, you're coming with us. And I'm just like, okay. And I was just like, I wish I was in the populace that has never seen any one of those movies. Because, oh my God.
I don't care for it. It's too teeny boppy for me. I know it's like a lot of people's like soul and like this is they live and die by it. Cool, you do you. Not for me. This
tells you how much I dislike those movies. Like there was like when I was in high school, everybody was either Team Jacob or Team Edward. I was team guy that almost hit Bella with the truck in the first movie.
Yeah, I remember that going around for a while. I was the whatever team you're on, cool. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, nor do I care.
So, like, to give those that have never seen the movies retrospect,
we don't have to.
I don't want to, but a part of me does. I'm like divided on the subject because this is a weird happenings of what occurred. Okay, So 9/11 happens. The lead singer of My Chemical Romance witnesses 9/11 happen, forms the band My Chemical Romance. The author of Twilight loves My Chemical Romance, gets inspired to write her book based off fan fiction, I forget for what series, by Chemical Romance. And then the author of 50 Shades of Grey gets inspired to write their book because of Twilight. So because we had a national tragedy occur.
I don't remember. I thought they were both Stephanie Meyer.
Stephanie Meyer was Twilight. I don't remember the name of it.
I don't fucking remember. I thought they were the same person.
So to show you how weird coincidences can occur, because we had a national tragedy, we now have two of the most weirdest book series available. I'm sorry if you're a fan of them. I don't like them. And that is the one thing that I will bash is just those books. That's it. I think that they were bad and I wish that I'd never seen the movies. But if you like them, do you?
I'm trying to like see who the author is, and then like one of the sub like in Google, one of the subtitles like, why is 50 Shades of Grey so hot? E.L. James, okay, that's who wrote it.
Jesus Christ, but yeah,
don't know nothing about it, don't care about it. You do you, as long as you're happy.
If you like it and you enjoy it, that's fine. I don't like it. I'm not gonna say you have a wrong opinion, but you have a wrong opinion.
I will just say if I'm ever forced to watch that, I'm gonna suck Starter Shotgun for sure. That's all I'll say.
What flavor is this 9mm? But yeah, I just that was a rare glimpse into my teenage years. It was a weird time.
Yeah, that's fair. I didn't even realize how fucking long we were.
I didn't either. It has been going for almost 2 hours. So this is gonna be fun to edit, but it will be. It'll be easy. But yeah, let us know your top 10s. Let us know your thoughts on our top 10s.
To see some of your guys' top 10s. I really am. And I apologize, but I may like shit talk you guys for it. It's like the only reason why I say that, and this is just like a disclaimer, is like I'm not trying to like shit talk it to say like you have bad taste or anything like that. It's just I usually have to like voice my frustration on like certain movies, because like when I hear people like, oh, I love scary movies, It Follows scares me, I'm going to judge you harshly because that movie is not scary.
It's really not. Like I sat there the entire time like this, like just emotionless. Like when is it supposed to
fucking scare you?
Yeah, it's like how does this supernatural STD that walks slowly at you scary? Like I don't get it. Like here, let me just pick up the pace a little bit. Bye.
Or you could just end. There's so many ways to like fucking end that, but you know, I digress. Just saying though, I will be nice about it, but I would love to hear your top 10s.
But disclaimer, we both don't like It Follows.
Yeah. Full disclaimer, if like It Follows is in your category, you might not want to comment. We're
kidding. You comment away, but just know. Just know.
We'll be judging and talking.
We're gonna be like, oh my god, did you hear about Blake 12345 talking about It Follows? Noob.
This person thinks this is scary. Oh, we got some news for them.
It's not like we're gonna post your comment on on the channel for everyone to see.
We won't use it as like an intro or anything like that either, promise.
But this was a fun one, honestly. I think we need to do more like this. And
yeah, we can definitely do more like lists in some ways. I mean, I'll tell you, we could do like your favorite jump scares, like top list. You can do your favorite bloody moments or your favorite deaths, your favorite scores, or I could do like for me personally, like my favorite like audiophile sounds, like either be music or, breaking of bones or sound effects like that.
Yeah.
And you could have your own, like there's plenty of lists we can do on that.
Oh yeah. Like the number of lists that we could make is endless. Just about.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say we can even do the like what's your favorite, 80s top 10, from the 80s or 70s and stuff like that.
Ooh,
which I think would be really hard.
Yeah. Like thinking about it, like if we were to do this based off of like decades, oh my God. What? My brain hurts thinking about it.
A lot of films to go through on that.
Miz, their brain's on fire. Stop it.
I was cooking. I'm sorry. I had an idea. I had to spell it out before I forgot it.
And let us know what you guys think. Like what should we do
more lists, or do you like how we've been doing the other categories and listings that we have done in the past? Let us know.
Yeah. feel free. Let us know. Let us know on Twitter. Let us know on YouTube. Name's all the same. If you're an audio listener only, follow us on Twitter. If you're a YouTube watcher only, follow us on Twitter or comment down below. Let us know your discrepancies, your disgruntlements, your likes, your dislikes, your top tens, everything. We want to hear it all.
What do you disagree on our lists? We're down for everything.
Yeah, like you could say, "Oh, Oculus was a shit movie." I will debate you on how wrong you are.
We like to hear. We want to hear that feedback, though. If you don't like it, why don't you like it? You know?
Yeah, let us
just don't be like my friend who I judged very, very harshly when we were like, "Oh, I love Prometheus, but hated Alien Covenant." I was like, "My guy, it's not the full story yet." And he's like, "I know it's not, but I don't like how they're telling it right now." It's like, I don't give a shit. It's not done yet. Just go with the ride until it's done. But
I mean, we got an upcoming movie from that same branch of the franchise.
Yeah, Romulus is coming out.
Yep, and I think it's coming out end of this year or next year. I can't remember, but
I think it's like sometime like fourth quarter this year, early half next year.
I think so. Could be, yeah. But I'm excited for it because I've seen Prometheus, I've seen Covenant. I want to see Romulus because I've noticed
Alien. I'm there.
Yep.
When I heard about Prometheus being like a quote unquote almost prequel to everything of the Alien universe, I was like, sign me up right away.
I was curious about it because I wanted to see how they were going to do it because I was like,
that movie first came out. I won't forget. It was a mother-son date. Me and my mom love the Alien franchise. So when that movie came out, I treated her to go to the movies. And so I got the tickets, the popcorn and snacks, and everything. We were watching that movie. And as we're watching the movie, we were both in there going, and we were just like constantly just like, oh. Like, love that movie.
I watched it with the wife and she actually sat through and watched it with me. I was very thoroughly surprised because I was expecting her to be like,
The soundtrack is still one of my favorite scores. I love that soundtrack.
God, yeah. I'm a big fan of classical music in general, but when you have like a orchestrate for a little alliteration there, but if you have an orchestrate for like a movie, I'm like, yeah.
Oh, there's just something about it. Like, don't get me wrong, I do miss the unhinged, like mid to late 90s, early 2000s. Any like big blockbuster movie had like a fucking new metal and whatever soundtrack. I miss those. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely miss those. But the scores for movies like that, oh, you can't beat them.
Like one of my favorite horror movie soundtracks of all time is Ghost Ship because of the opening song. Just that friggin' at the beginning of it. I was sitting in the movie theater next to my mom. Like,
for me, one thing that I still listen to is it's called the Zepp Overture from Saw. It was one of the songs that Charlie Clouser did. It's part of the ending scene, but it starts off with the violin playing, leading into the iconic little like it's such a good, like, I still throw that on every once in a while because it is just that fucking good.
I'm thinking about you putting on like a Bluetooth speaker and the wife coming home and like all the lights are like dimly lit and you're like in the bathroom like pampering yourself, like, you know, like the mask, a little zucchini on the eyes and shit, and you got the little washcloth across the forehead and you're like, and she like walks into a dimly lit apartment and she just hears I don't want to play a game.
The funny thing is, she actually loves that as much as I do too. So she'd be like, "Let's go,
scoot over in the bathtub."
Yep, she would definitely do that for sure.
That's awesome. If I did that to my wife, she would shit. She would beat me 110%. Don't scare me like that. And I'm like, I'm sorry. It's jamming out in my favorite horror movie.
It's so good. But yeah, we wait to hear from you guys. Until next time.
Bye from me.